Do you know Justin Trudeau?
No, not personally. And that's a thing you have to be careful about, making judgments just from what you in the media. But with respect to Justin Trudeau, I don't feel he's a prime minister in the real sense. One of the things I worry about is virtual politics being conducted in virtual space as distinct from real political democratic space. And I get a feeling that Justin Trudeau is a former drama teacher playing the role of prime minister as distinct from being a prime minister. I think we don't have a finance minister. I think we have a virtual prime minister, a finance minister. We have a well-meaning journalist perhaps, but playing the role of finance minister. Nothing in her background that would suggest a grasp of public finance or the economy or anything else. And I worry about us getting into a virtual politics that is not the real thing, that the country doesn't have a real prime minister, doesn't have a real finance minister. So I don't think of Justin Trudeau as a real prime minister. The second thing is I worry that he is guided by ideologies that have little or nothing to do with Canada.
Well, he has stated publicly, as far as I understand, that Canada doesn't really have a culture.
Well, yeah, well, that may be. And so, but he's importing these theories basically from the United States. The critical race theory, identity politics, wokeism, and cancel culture. And particularly Western Canada does not see that as even Canadian. Don't see it as Canadian. A lot of Western Canadians can't understand why Trudeau just falls all over himself to be recognized in Washington and Beijing, the Davos crowd, and makes no effort to bolster his fortunes in Winnipeg or Regina or Edmonton or Calgary. We know they're not as dramatic places as Washington and Beijing, but this is your own country and you're the prime minister of that part of the country. I don't know whether the country has to get into real, even deeper trouble than it is now. I mean, it's in trouble. It's in trouble on the economy. It's in trouble on the international stage. It's not respected. Whether things have to get worse before they can get better. So
what do you think are the fundamental issues that face Canadians at the moment? You said the country is in trouble in some ways.
Well, I think one is this national unity problem. I don't think particularly Central Canada understands the depth of this Western alienation.
Again.
Yeah, and if you ever had a dual separatist movement, Quebec moving in that direction and the West moving at the same time, you'd tear the country apart. I don't think there's an appreciation by the Laurentian elites that old model of Canada is not sufficient for the 21st century. So and Canadians can never take national unity for granted. Our country's too big and too diverse to just hope it's going to hang together. So that's one issue. The second is the fiscal issue. These astronomical deficits and debts, and no even recognition that this could be a problem. When we were crusading against the unbalanced budget in the 1990s, the Liberals didn't oppose the ultimate objective. So yeah, eventually got to balance the budget, but you guys are going too fast, or you're doing it the wrong way, or you're cutting it. But they didn't oppose the ultimate objective. But today, it's not even stated as an objective. They bought into this new monetary theory that you can overspend and print money, and as long as it doesn't seem to register in terms of the immediate inflation, you can do it ad infinitum. And so I think restoring the fiscal health of the country is going to be an enormous challenge. And I don't know, whoever does that is going to face a terrible task, because it can't be done as quickly as it should be or could be without causing enormous pain. And then our relations with the rest of the world. I think they've deteriorated to this almost pathetic desire to be recognized by the world elites, the Davos crowd, the Washington crowd, and in Beijing, I think is a dangerous thing. I think the West needs strong ideological leadership on those two on those two fronts, and we're certainly not getting that from hardly any Western leader, let alone Justin Trudeau. My deepest belief is that Canada there is a better Canada than what we got now. That Canada can be, and that requires recognizing the distinctiveness and the current concerns and aspirations of Western Canada as a part of Canada. That Canada can be better governed as a democracy, and there's things that can be done to strengthen their democracy. That Conservatives can make a bigger and better contribution to that Canada of the future and that better democracy. And that people of faith can make a bigger and better contribution if they conduct themselves wisely and graciously. 3 great commandments of Western civilization. The first one was know thyself, from Socrates and the Greek tradition. The second one was control thyself, from the Hebrew lawgivers and the Roman lawgivers. And the third was give yourself, like know your country, know your people, and talking to politicians, know your constituents, know the people you're supposed to be representing. And in the U.S., if you want to run for the Republicans or Democrats, they can give you a huge book. It's about each of them about 500 pages long, giving the complete description of the history of the Democratic Party. I forget the name of it. And then there's another one for the Republicans. In Canada, there is no definitive history of the Liberal Party and the Liberal tradition in Canada. There's no complete definitive history of the Conservative tradition.
Why do you think it is that the Americans are so much better at myth making and storytelling and history building than Canadians? I mean, they're phenomenally good at it.
I don't know. We have people that are capable of doing it. We have historians that are as capable of doing that as the Americans, but we haven't done it. And one of my challenges in my book is somewhere out there's got to be some historians who can produce those 4 books, the liberal one, the conservative one, the socialist one, and the third party traditions, because you can't cover Quebec and Western politics without the third party tradition. And that would be enormously helpful in knowing ourselves.
Now, do you think a university might be interested in doing that?
Well, I think you could find the funding for it. And it's part of knowing yourself. I use the broad jump analogy. In the Olympics, there used to be an event called the standing broad jump, where how far could you jump from a standing position? And the record was, 8 feet or something. It was quite phenomenal. But then there's the running broad jump, where the record is 27 or 28 feet or whatever it is. In other words, you can get ahead further if you get a run at it than if you start just from standing still. And I say that to people wanting to get into political office. There's a whole history behind all of this. Get a run at it by knowing the background, the history, and so forth, and you'll get further than thinking politics just started the day you've discovered it and you do it from a standing start.